Live on tape from Cheltenham, it's International King of Sports!
What do you get when you ask 24 genuine athletes from all around the world to compete in a load of completely made-up sports? You get International King of Sports 2004.
Last time, a real shock in the first heat of this year's International King of Sports as Britain's Brian Clark dumped the defending champion Adam Border out of this year's competition. A great all-round performance saw Brian of Britain take the first place in this year's final. Adam Border's only slim hope is to be one of the highest scoring losers across the series. Today in Heat 2, it's the 3-metre sprint, the water jump, gravity meets water in association bobbage, hit the mat in speed gun run, and it's eat sand in the headlong dive.
Those are today's made-up events, so now let's meet today's real-life athletes, all competing for a place in the grand final.
My name is James Christie, aka JJ, and I'm representing Great Britain. This year is my year to battle for the new king.
My name is Laszlo Fazekas. I'm representing Hungary. I love all sorts of sports and traveling.
My name is Hugo Marburg, better known as the human rhinoceros. I'm from South Africa, a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, so look out for me this year.
My name is Yukio Matsumoto. I'm from a village deep in the mountain in Japan. Watch out for the power of feng shui.
And once again, we've been joined by former International King of Sport, Mark Robson. Mark, you've cast your eye over today's athletes in the heat. A couple we've seen before. Who are you looking out for?
Yeah, Hugo Myberg is back, the human rhino, a massive guy. He, I think, has been grazing on the grasslands of the Serengeti.
He can't be any bigger than he was last year.
He says he's put on a couple of stone. The world speed gun run record holder, but the bulk may work against him because you never know, it might slow him down. He might have done the wrong sort of training for King of Sports. Laszlo Fazekas is back, the Hungarian Lazarus Laszlo. Who will ever forget the sight of him being taken away
in the ambulance.
Waving to everybody after rupturing his Achilles tendon. He had won the first event in the final last year and really was favourite to win it, and now he's fully fit, so definitely a man to watch.
We've got a famous name next, haven't we? Mr. Christie.
We do, James Christie, and there's a connection. He's the nephew of the wonderful Linford, so he's only 17, youngest guy in the competition. He will have the genetics, but has he got the muscular maturity? And the oldest man in the competition, Yukio Matsumoto, he's a Zen master, and he says his future is in the hands of the Buddha.
Wow, so we've got the oldest and the youngest taking part today. Are either of those going to go through? Who's your tip?
No, I don't think so. I think Laszlo will probably win this heat, but Hugo Myberg will be pushing him hard. He was devastated not to make the final last year, so it will be a rhino on the rampage.
It's a 3-metre sprint. It is a sprint. It is 3 meters long. I don't know what else I can tell you.
Well, Hugo, you are the human rhino and you've got your own mascot with you this year, but last time out you were a bit devastated not to make the final. How focused are you this time round?
This year I know actually what we are getting ourselves into, and I know I could prepare for it, even though some of the events are different to what it was last year. Mentally I can come into it and I know what to expect, but like you can see, some of the events are completely different, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, 3-metre sprint coming up now. You've put on quite a bit of muscle mass since the last event. Might that slow you down?
In all honesty, I think it might slow me down, but also I've trained a lot on my legs. I've built a bit on my legs, and the explosive energy that should come out of my legs might be able to help me. But one of the lads that I'm running against is actually a professional sprinter, so in that regard we'll just have to see.
The 3-metre sprint, the fastest race in the world, the only sprint you can win in under a second. My advice is, don't blink or you'll miss it. Lane 1, Yukio Matsumoto. Composed, the Japanese, always big favourites in International King of Sports. Lane 2, Laszlo Fazekas, the man they call the Professor, and the big Hungarian could go all the way this year. Lane 3, Hugo Myberg. He didn't make the final last year, and he's determined not to make the same mistakes this year. And in lane 4, James Christie, only 17, and surely too inexperienced to win in this kind of company, but he'll relish the 3-metre sprint. Well, Christie's Uncle Linford was certainly no slouch at getting out of the blocks explosively. Has young James, I wonder, inherited the same quality? He'll need it here, because one mistake in this event and you're finished. Well, there's obviously no time for commentary, but I'm pretty sure the young Briton Christie won it. He did, with Myberg getting up for second place. You really couldn't get any closer finish than that, and I think the shock here was Fazekas down in fourth.
Well, James, that's a great performance. There's obviously a little bit of Uncle Linford in your start. Were you confident that you were going to win that? Did you think this could be my event?
I did, but as soon as the gun went, it's like you finished already, so it just went quick.
Alright, no need to ask you who you guys are supporting. Hello in there.
Hello.
Oh, should I go under here? Hello.
Hello.
Actually, it'd be better if we could see you. Can you, or would it spoil the myth if you take... Hey, there are real live people in here. So you big Hugo fans?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Well, he is the human rhino, so how come, whose idea was it to come as a rhino?
Well, I said about maybe we should do it. I mean, Tim here got a GCSE at A-star textiles level, and I said he couldn't do it, and here he is, he's come out trumps.
What a start for the 17-year-old. Maximum points for Britain's James Christie. A shock last place for the Professor Laszlo Fazekas. Christie, the early leader. Myberg and Fazekas will want to do something about that.
Great Britain's James Christie leads the way at the moment, but the human rhino is thundering close behind. We've come poolside for the water jump.
And we are back at the water jump. Remember, athletes must be like Superman, faster than a speeding train, able to leap over a bar with a single jump and land into the water like a big piano. Boing.
Great jumping at the opening height of 1.20 m, saw all 4 men clear. We were definitely in for quite a competition. I believe your training techniques are interesting. Can you tell me about them?
I've been practicing in the mountain, in the lake in Japan, just diving into the frozen lake. No bars. You just imagine there is a bar.
So, will Yukio Matsumoto's mind games and unusual training regime pay off? It's his second and final attempt at 1.40 m. Oh, unlucky. Just caught the bar with his chest. Great spring. Didn't quite get the angle right. And he's rather unlucky, I think, to go out at this height. The bar raised to 1.70 m and 3 men left in the competition. Here's young Christie. He shows absolutely no fear, this guy. He's won everyone over with his self-confidence. Great spring and somersault to match. He goes over at 1.70 m and he's really emerging as a force. Now Hugo Myberg, and he has to match Christie. Not the most confident of run-ups, but he's got over the bar clearly. He's not been at all rattled by his young opponent. He'll stop at nothing to reach the final this year, Hugo Myberg. The man they call the human rhino. Well, I suppose you'd expect him to be happy in the water. And he was a very determined guy. Second attempt for Laszlo Fazekas. He's got to get this one right. He had a terrible first event, and I'm afraid he's failed again here. He really needed points in the water jump. He's a swimming instructor by trade, but clearly not happy with the high jump aspect. He's failed, and he's got real problems now in qualifying for the final. A last place and third, he could be in trouble. The bar goes up to William Povey's world record height of 1.80 m. Second attempt for James Christie. He's been surprising us all along, this young man. Can he do so again? Terrific speed down the runway. He just clipped the bar. That was so unlucky, but what a competition he's having. Tremendous. Hugo Myberg knows that if he clears this, he wins the water jump and equals the world record. Wonderful spring, and he's over. What a jump by Myberg. He rattled the bar, but crucially he cleared it. What a competitor. And the human rhino celebrates with the pantomime version.
What inspired you?
The South African saying, BMT, big match temperament. That's what inspired me.
Revenge for Myberg as he takes maximum points. Second for Christie from Fajikas and Matmoto. All square at the top for South African Myberg and South London's own James Christie.
Event number 3, Association Bobbage. The athletes jump into the pool from increasing heights. The head must not go under the surface, otherwise you bring shame onto yourself and your country.
Mark, is there such thing as textbook bobbage?
Very much so. It's a life-saving technique, actually. You enter the water with the flippers wide apart, bring them together as you submerge, try and hit the water with the chest first to absorb the impact of the water, then bring the arms together in a sweeping movement. They also use it in the military, would you believe? It's a part of the same idea when you're serving your country, jumping out of a helicopter perhaps into water, or a man overboard from a boat. And not a lot of people know that.
And the height that you're sat at now has actually been jumped in bobbage, hasn't it?
This is the height 2 metres that Laszlo Fajikas set in 2002. That was the world record. And as you can see, it's pretty impressive. Fairly elementary bobbing at 0.7 metres. No problem for the Budapest bobber Fajikas. More for Christie or Matmoto. But then disaster for Hugo Myberg, who proved that rhinos don't float. Out he went. But at least his four-legged fan club still loved him. But that would be cold comfort as Myberg walked away with just 1 point from the Association Bobbage. Matmoto has been entertaining everyone in Cheltenham this week, but the man from the land of sushi proved to be a raw fish out of water. 1.30 metre was a height too far for the leaping Oriental. Disappointment for Matmoto.
So the platform's raised to a world record height of 2.20 metres, and we still have 2 men in it. Laszlo Fajikas, the current world record holder, and he needs all the points he can get here. It's a good bob. Wonderful technique, 2 white flags, and that's a new world record for Fajikas. Don't count him out of it yet. Wonderful recovery by the Hungarian. That's put him right back in contention. Perfect technique for the world record.
After the break, can Britain's James Christie match Fajikas? We'll also see the speed gun run and the teeth-busting headlong dive. Welcome back to the Association Bobbage, where we have just seen a new world record for Hungarian Laszlo Fajikas.
How can James Christie respond to that wonderful bob by Fajikas? I don't think he was too sure about this event when he came into the competition, but he has taken to Association Bobbage like the proverbial duck to water. It's a long way down, isn't it? But it didn't bother him. Is there nothing this boy can't do? Wonderful bob. And James Christie has equalled the world record. That really is a stunning performance by the 17-year-old.
James, are you surprised in yourself that you've been able to equal so far the man who's known as the human dolphin?
Definitely. I was surprised. I thought, because the water is so far when you're up there, and when you hit the water, just put your power into it, man. Just do what you have to do.
Laszlo is a lifesaver. I mean, you know the technique very well. How impressed have you been with this young fella, because he's a novice?
Absolutely, I think he's one of the most gifted person in the world. So I think he's going to have a beautiful future.
The platform goes up even higher. The bar raised to 2 meters 40, quite literally uncharted territory in association bobbage, but it didn't bother Laszlo Fazekas. The superb stylist has made it look easy again. Another world record. What a man. Second attempt for James Christie, the baby of the competition at 17, but a failed bob this time. Nonetheless, he's a real star in the making, this boy. A valuable second place for him.
Maximum points at last for the mighty Magyar. More good points for Christie, disaster for Hugo Myberg. Christie goes 2 points clear of Myberg. Fazekas still not out of things.
The speed gun run. Athletes must run as fast as they possibly can down the 20-meter track. Your speed is measured just before you hit the mat. Ow, my face!
We've come back to the stadium for the next event, which is Speed Gun Run. Mark, this is my favourite event, and I've got to say it looks easy, but I bet there's more to it.
Yeah, it might look easy, but it's actually quite frightening. It betrays instinct. I mean, naturally, if you're heading at a solid object like this, you would want to slow down. And if you're in a car and there's a car in front of you and you want to stop, you hit the brake, not the accelerator. But to get through these sensors at maximum speed, you've really got to hit that mat very, very hard indeed and keep on driving. It'll suit someone like a rugby player like Hugo Myberg, who hits people hard all the time, and of course he is the world record holder, isn't he? Maybe that's why.
First attempt for the South African Myberg, the current world record holder. Young Christie's rattled him in this competition, but this is a strong event for Myberg, a man who's run over 20 miles an hour, but a disappointing one, I think. 18.88.
Matt Moto put in a creditable first run, a shade over 18 miles an hour. Then Laszlo Fazekas went one better with 18.23.
Now James Christie leads the heat, and he's got a very impressive personal best for 100 metres of 10.5, so he could pick up more points here. Terrific speed on the runway, and that's a stunning run, 20.19. What a story for this 17-year-old. He smashes Myberg's world record.
James, it's amazingly, it's a new world record. Tell me how you managed to achieve it.
Like I said, this drive, the 20-meter run, and that's done. Told you I could beat the Rhino.
Hugo Myberg has lost his world record to Christie, and he's in danger of losing the heat to Christie. This guy, though, is a tremendous competitor. How will he respond? He's got plenty of support down there on the runway. Off he goes. Wonderful power, look at the arms, the shoulders, and that's a fantastic run. Myberg has responded, 20.27, another new world record. What a fighter, what a competition this is. Wonderful response by the South African.
Hugo, the Rhino's pretty happy behind you. I think you're pretty happy too. The world record going didn't last for long, did it?
No, you know, the thing is so competitive, and don't leave me behind. You can't leave me behind. I have to be in front.
Well, what has Christie got left? He keeps on springing surprises here. He's got to beat 20.27. He seemed to just decelerate. Yes, 18.65. Myberg knows that's enough for maximum points.
Myberg back on form, a world record and 4 crucial points, but Christie gets a fine second, so the Briton takes a slender 1-point lead into the final event. It's Christie or Myberg for the final.
The final event, the headlong dive. Athletes must take off from the board. They must fly headfirst into the pit. Please make sure your feet are not touching the sand first, or it is a no jump and you will be illegal.
Well, it's between James Christie and Hugo Myberg for this heat. If you beat him or he beats you, then that's it. One of you, only one, will go through to the final. James, what's your thinking on this event?
I'm not going to say nothing, we just have to find out and see who goes through. Because like last time I spoke, so this time I'm just going to keep quiet and see what happens.
Are you confident though about your technique and ability to perform in this one?
Yeah, I got 3 tries, so I was working on it with the 3 tries I've got.
Hugo, last year. Now this was not a good event for you. You had 3 no jumps. Yeah, and
against the judges.
there was plenty of controversy. So I imagine you've worked on it. What's the thinking?
Thinking is just keep my feet up, learn from last year's mistakes, and the pressure's there, and I've dealt with the pressure. The previous event helped me deal with pressure, so the pressure's just a little bit down on me now, but it's just getting down to the business of actually doing it and just keeping my feet up.
Here's Laszlo Fazekas. It's been a really disappointing competition for the Hungarian, and I just wonder if the Achilles tendon injury he suffered in last year's final has affected him more than he was prepared to admit. It didn't seem to affect him there though. That's a really outstanding jump. And whatever else you say about this guy, you have to give him credit for being a wonderful competitor. And whatever happens here, let's hope that we see him again next year. So now it's all about two men, James Christie and Hugo Myberg, just 1 point in it. Myberg is a point behind the young Briton. This is his first jump. He had all sorts of trouble with no jumps last year, and the same has happened again. A red flag, his foot clearly over the board. Got to get it right. James Christie, the door's open for him now. A real chance of a shot win, but he's got that all wrong. Again, his foot went down in the sand, so that's an illegal jump. Terrific speed on the runway, but his technique when it came to the long jump was all wrong, and there's nothing between them now. Second attempt for Hugo Myberg. He's got to get a jump in of any kind here. And he's failed again. The red flag has gone up. Is he going to throw it all away again? How frustrating this is for him. Angry with himself.
Hugo, it's not going well. What have you learned from your 2 no jumps that you can take into the third one, which is now absolutely crucial?
I'm going to learn from what I did last year. Last year, all the time I just went balls to the wall, and 3 no jumps got me 1 point last year. This time I'm just going to make it safe and hope I get it past James's distance. That's all I'm going to do. I have to get my foot in just to get more than 1 point. So I'm going to have to cut back a little bit. Don't give it all the pace and just hope it's enough. We'll see.
James Christie, second attempt. He's really got to control himself. He's got wonderful speed down the runway. A real opportunity here. 6.38, not a great jump, but no red flag, and he piles the pressure onto Myberg now. Hugo Myberg, final attempt, and the final opportunity for Myberg. He needs to beat Christie, 6 meters 38. It's legal. It's legal this time. A white flag. He's done it. 6 meters 64, and the pressure back on Christie again. So at long last, will we be seeing the South African in the final? James Christie, final attempt. The situation's simple. If he dives over 6 meters 64, he's in the final. If he doesn't, then Myberg is in the final. It looked a good effort, and it comes up at 7.38. What a shock, what a performance. Myberg misses out again. Christie delighted.
Did you feel much pressure? You knew you had to beat Hugo?
Definitely, I did, and I've done it.
What does it feel like at your age? You're only 17, the youngest man ever to get to an International King of Sports final.
It's great, I like it.
Heartbreak once again for Hugo Myberg as this sensational 17-year-old from South London, James Christie, takes the heat in style. So Christie joins fellow Brit Brian Clark in our final. Defending champ Adam Porter is still highest scoring loser. Myberg unlikely to qualify. Well, he is the baby-faced killer, James Christie, only 17 years of age, still not old enough to go into a pub on his own. There's obviously a lot of Uncle Linford in him. Feel sorry though for Hugo Myberg. He trained very, very hard. Great athlete, but again he fails to make the final. And Laszlo Fazekas, a finalist last time around, and was one of the favourites to win it overall before he got injured. So that gives you another indication as to the real pedigree of James Christie.
Thanks, Mark. Well, that's it. Join us next time when 4 more contestants will be put through their paces on International King of Sports. Until then, from us, bye-bye.